On July the 26th, 1974, a 12-year-old girl chased her barking dog up into the dunes outside Provincetown, Massachusetts. She thought she'd find a dead seal, something washed up, something explainable. What she found instead had no hands, and for the next 48 years, she would not have a name either. The woman was laid out on a beach blanket, almost peacefully, on her front, her head resting on a pair of folded jeans, a blue bandana beneath her. But nothing else about the scene was peaceful. Her hands had been removed after death. Her skull was crushed on one side. Her head was nearly severed from her body. Investigators found 2 sets of footprints leading toward her, and tire tracks 50 yards off. Insect activity and decomposition told them she'd been there for 10 days, maybe as long as 3 weeks. Whoever did this hadn't panicked. They'd taken the one thing that could identify her. Her fingerprints were gone. Dental records led nowhere. She had no missing persons report waiting to match her. She was officially no one. The papers gave her a name anyway, the Lady of the Dunes. She became Massachusetts' oldest unidentified homicide victim. Every few years, a new theory would surface, and every few years, it would go nowhere. In 2015, a strange one. Stephen King's son Joe Hill was reading a book about amateur cold case sleuths and noticed something. A movie had been filming near Provincetown that same summer of 1974. Jaws. In the background of one beach scene, a woman in jeans and a blue bandana walks past the camera. Investigators found it interesting. Others called it far-fetched. Either way, it went nowhere. The Lady of the Dunes remained exactly what she'd been for 40 years. A woman with no name and a killer with no face. Until the science caught up. In 2021, her remains were exhumed. A DNA sample went to Othram, a forensic genealogy lab. The same kind of technique that had cracked open the Golden State Killer case a few years earlier. Instead of matching her DNA to a name directly, investigators built a family tree from distant relatives branch by branch, working outward until the tree resolved to a single person. On October 31st, 2022, the FBI stood in front of cameras in Boston and said her name for the first time in 48 years. Ruth Marie Terry. Born in Tennessee, 1936. 37 years old when she died. She was a daughter, the FBI's Joseph Bonavolanta told reporters, a sister, an aunt, a wife, a mother. Investigators found she'd also gone by other names, Terry Vizina, Terry Shannon, and had ties stretching across Tennessee, Massachusetts, California, and Michigan. Nobody yet knew what had brought her to a beach in Cape Cod that July. But they were about to find out who she'd come there with. Ruth had gotten married, sometime in 1973 or 1974, to a man named Guy Rockwell Moldavan. That summer, the newlyweds took a trip to Cape Cod. Guy came back from that trip alone. Driving Ruth's car, he told witnesses that Ruth had died. To her family, his story was thinner still. They'd had a fight during the honeymoon, he said, and he simply never heard from her again. Investigators dug into Guy Moldavan's past and found this wasn't the first time people around him had turned up dead. In 1960 in Seattle, he'd been a suspect in the deaths of his previous wife and his stepdaughter. He was never charged, not in Seattle in 1960, not in Provincetown in 1974. Guy Rockwell Moldavan died in 2002, 20 years before anyone would say Ruth Marie Terry's name out loud again. In 2023, Massachusetts investigators formally closed the case. Their conclusion: Guy Moldavan killed his wife Ruth Marie Terry in the summer of 1974. There would be no trial, no arrest, No moment where he explained why he'd taken her hands or what happened between them on that beach. Cape and Islands District Attorney Michael O'Keefe put it plainly at the press conference. It's very likely that the person who did this is dead. But they may not be. So the message to them, if they're still out there, we're coming. For 48 years, Ruth Marie Terry was a mystery with no name. Now she has one. Now her family knows what happened to her, even if they'll never hear it from the man responsible. She was found on a beach blanket, laid out like she was resting. It took the world nearly 50 years to learn she'd never gotten the chance to rest at all.